lost trashy horror movies that are pure bliss. Horror films have always had a notable presence from the beginning of cinema, and filmmakers have since come up with unique and innovative ways of scaring viewers. The genre has branched into various categories, constituting different elements, and some of them have seen real masterpieces. However, some filmmakers did not quite get there and had to resort to cheap gore and physically blessed ladies to attract viewership. Unfortunately, these films failed to produce true horror as we know it and ended up being categorized as B-grade trashy horror films. In this video, we will explore some of these movies that are not all bad. In fact, there are millions of people across the globe who seem to love this genre for what they are.
Before we go into our list, we have a very small request. If you like our content, please support us by subscribing to our channel. This is a small click from you, but it means a lot to us. Thank you. Let's begin.
Help me! Help me! Please!
Dream Demon, 1988. Dream Demon centers on a young woman who is about to get married. She suddenly begins having terrible dreams about demons, only to wake up to find that they are real and commit horrible murders. You might go into this movie expecting it to be a cheesy, low-budget horror flick, but you will be pleasantly surprised at the decent execution of this underrated gem. It is an enjoyable watch, thanks to the pair of female leads and remarkable direction by Harley Cokless. His attempt to replicate Wes Craven's technique of selected ambiguity unfortunately left certain unanswered plot holes, but that doesn't take away from its unique storyline and haunting narrative. Moreover, its cinematography was delightful, blowing the audience's mind with its imaginative visuals and creative camera work. If you're someone seeking an 80s supernatural gothic aesthetic, then this is certain to be a fruitful watch. The Deadly Spawn, 1983, begins with two campers in the woods of New Jersey being interrupted by the crashing of a meteorite in the area. While they investigate the scene, they are violently murdered by alien parasites that emerge from the rock. After killing the campers, the alien parasite-like creatures head towards the town. Here, they settle down in the basement of an old house and begin killing helpless residents. 4 teenagers and a younger boy discover the truth and try to find a way to stop the parasites before they procreate and destroy all of humanity. This 1983 American sci-fi horror film is a B-movie with a surprisingly large cult following. Although it evokes the concept of portraying people in their truest form, these are often overlooked because of its questionable performances. The gore and special effects are highly sought after, and it has also received appreciation for its makeup effects. Moreover, despite being a low-budget film, McKeown makes an effort to develop his characters before they die gory deaths. If you're someone who enjoys slaughter and intense bloodshed, this is a highly recommended movie. It is unfair for it to be referred to as a ripoff of Aliens, when the only thing the two movies have in common is the unknown creatures arriving from another planet. Paramount Pictures almost picked this film for a theatrical release. Q, 1982. It depicts a giant flying lizard soaring around, spotted from the rooftops of New York City. This has the police extremely frustrated, who wrote it off until it started eating people. An ex-con piano player turns out to be the only person who knows where the monster's nest is, and is determined to use this to his advantage. Released with multiple titles, Q is a 1982 American monster horror film written, produced, and directed by Larry Cohen. First and foremost, this is the only known film to pay a real homage to the Chrysler Building, a high-rise skyscraper that was built along with the Empire State Building. The concept of a monster living in a secluded area in New York City is both amusing and ironic. It is a B-creature feature film, which is also a police procedural monster movie. Quite a rare gem. If anyone can take a low-budget film and turn it into a masterpiece, it is Larry Cohen. He borrows heavily from giant monster movies like King Kong and Godzilla, and creates his unique spin of quirkiness, which viewers always enjoy. Fun fact: the title cue is short for Quetzalcoatl, the Aztec god who is half reptile and half bird.
Somebody there?
Blue Monkey, 1987. The film portrays a greenhouse employee getting bitten by an insect after touching an exotic plant. He immediately gets sick and is taken to the emergency room, where he is diagnosed to be suffering from unknown bacteria. The doctors also see a weird parasite resembling a worm leave his mouth. Soon the bacteria spreads to other people and along with the parasite wreak havoc in the hospital. This 1987 Canadian monster flick was one of the most enjoyable B-movies of its time. Although it incorporated several creature feature cliches, it has an intriguing plot that kept viewers glued to their screen. Despite its low budget, it displayed top-notch special effects and great performances by the cast, including cheesy cult actor Steve Railsback. Viewers appreciate its brilliant blend of a typical 80s splatterfest with a 50s oversized killer bug premise. Canadian horror helmer William Fruitt's smart direction and energetic narrative put the cherry on the top of this trashy horror gem. Intruder, 1989. A girl working at the checkout counter of a supermarket sees her ex-boyfriend return to create a commotion. They have a huge argument, and he is thrown out of the supermarket. After the building is locked and time to do inventory, the employees begin dying one by one. The survivors are frightened and try to find a way to escape. This 1989 American slasher film, directed by Scott Spiegel, was the last real slasher film made in the 80s. It has an effective sense of dark humor, stylish camera work, and gory effects that will make your jaw drop. Although the story of an intruder at a supermarket isn't the ultimate catch, it might even seem cliched, this movie can still claim place above the average list of slasher films. Additionally, the plot served as a good framework for some highly energized thrills and bloodshed, and an atmospheric sense of dread which reoccurred throughout the film. The only thing about the film that didn't convince people was the performance of the cast, which some say should have been a tad more convincing. There's Nothing Out There, 1991. 7 teenagers visit a cabin by a lake during spring break. Mike is an avid horror movie fan and is well versed in the signs of foreshadowing doom. While the others dismiss his concerns, they overlook that something is lurking outside. The teenagers soon begin experiencing an attrition problem when they start encountering cliches from typical teen horror movies. This 1991 horror comedy is an enjoyable parody of 80s horror films. The best thing about this cheesy B movie is that it is entirely self-aware, making it all the more fun to watch. Amusingly enough, most people appreciate this movie for the effort made in directing, writing, and acting. Rather than the movie itself, it is far more enjoyable than your usual indie horror comedies, and is the first self-referential meta-slasher film to be made. The plot surrounds itself with all the different situations the teenagers find themselves in, which include various elements of fear and suspense. The most important thing to keep in mind is that the comedic aspect of this movie overpowers the horror, but unlike other trashy films which make viewers want to gouge their eyes out, this is actually enjoyable. The Brain, 1988. It depicts a giant brain-like alien that is used by Dr. Blakely, a TV show host. His TV show, called Independent Thinkers, appears to be about self-help and religion, when in reality, Blakely uses the brain to brainwash and mind control everyone via the show. He aspires for world domination. However, he is presented with a barrier in Jim, a mischievous high school student. The Brain is a 1988 Canadian sci-fi horror film Directed by Edward Hunt, it is a portrayal of familial cliches that are well known to B-movie fans. It displays cheesy effects and decent performances by the actors that shields its distasteful production quality. It contains a good storyline with a memorable set of characters that are based on an out-of-the-ordinary premise. Although the 80s were saturated with creature features and the best era for horror, it certainly hadn't seen anything like this before. While the lack of decent technology left it with an average set of special effects, viewers enjoyed this comedic undertone in an otherwise satisfactory attempt at horror. The Kindred, 1987. Amanda, who is on her deathbed, requests her son John to destroy all her lab notes and research from her last experiment. She also confesses that he has a brother. At her funeral, John meets Melissa, who claims that she is Amanda's biggest fan. John and his friends go to Amanda's house, where they are astounded by what they find. This 1987 collaboration between Jeffrey Abrow and Stephen Carpenter portrays lucid ideas and top-notch special effects. It displays high-quality makeup, and its smart use of gore makes it a thrilling watch. David Newman contributes a score with a moody, ambient tone. Despite the film having cheesy moments, it certainly knows how to hold its own by creating moments of heavy tension and a handful of surprising twists. It is praised for its original premise and Rod Steiger's performance. All in all, it's an underrated, trashy, and over-the-top monster flick, which is a must-watch.
I can't understand!
Grim Prairie Tales, 1990. It is written and directed by Wayne Coe and has an ensemble cast of James Earl Jones, Brad Dourif, and Lisa Eichhorn. It is an indie film consisting of 4 separate stories narrated by 2 travelers sitting around a prairie campfire. Morrison is a grizzled bounty hunter carrying a corpse, and Farley Deeds is a clerk who is on his way to a romantic reunion with his wife. Grim Prairie Tales is a 1990 American independent Western horror film. The greatest pleasure in this movie is to watch 2 great actors in a playoff of narrating horror stories, even if the stories themselves aren't all that scary. The contrast and the unlikely rapport established between the pair makes viewers fangirl in glee, especially considering James Earl Jones' role, which is very different from his usual roles. Unfortunately, this is a lost film that was never fully appreciated, when in reality it deserves credit for accurate genre classification. It is a movie driven more by viewers' thoughts rather than a display of violence and gore. This is because the terror is almost entirely psychological and makes it more like a quirky drama than a horror film. Wayne Coe considered a sequel for the movie in 1992, but never got around to making it. If you guys enjoyed this video, give us a like, subscribe, and press that bell icon that will help you get notifications. We upload an awesome video every day. Have an amazing day ahead and stay safe.